Hello everyone, this is Skadoosh, and welcome to my Corrupting Cry Warbringer build showcase. Now, this is not necessarily a guide, as I'll most likely be making an updated version on Mobalytics as with the previous one, but with the endgame gear and stuff. And also Maxroll have taken over and now highlighted my build on their website for the standard version. Also, this is my first ever build video, so if the quality is not great, that's just how it's going to be, unfortunately. I wanted to start off with showcasing Juiced map. So I think this is one of the hardest maps you can make, with a boss, breach, expedition, irradiated, and corruption. Both irradiated, this one and this one, give +1 to map level. And then I also have a tier 16 ready to go, which I'll be using in there. Just to show off my atlas. I don't have that much yet. I have a full atlas, of course, but only have breach points. I'm only done the breach boss. The other bosses are much harder to get a hold of because it's so hard to get the invitations to do them. Breach not so bad though, and breach is so much fun, so that's why I've been doing it. We've got quantity of splinters from monsters, and you take a bit more damage, as well as monster density and slower open and close. I'm farming out my last splinters so I can do my 8th point, the last hardest difficulty of that boss. I think my build can handle it, but we'll see. We also have a deadly evolution for a bit harder mobs, but more loot drops hopefully from rares and uniques. And you can see the rest for yourself in game. Alright, here we go. Also, this map doesn't have any, or it has one suffix, so it's not really that hard when it comes to map mods. Unfortunately, getting tier 16s with full juice is really difficult because you have to corrupt them. So this is the best I got. So as the build hasn't changed too much when it comes to actual gameplay, still have Seismic Cry, Infernal Cry only for bosses, and same with Totems as well, which you only use for bosses and rares. Shield Charge for a bit of extra movement, and Leaf Slam if we want to get over like pesky areas like this, for example. A bit more useful in trials and second trials. We're going to try and stagger clicking. You don't want to spam click or breach, as mobs will die from dropping blood even after hitting them once, as you can see, and of course explode when you use your orb a bit more. Alright, might as well just pop the breach now. Why wait? When I do breaches, I try to go to one edge at a time and kind of circle around. All you need to do is keep clicking the button slowly, so you don't slow yourself down, but you still explode everything on screen. And it kind of does itself. With the new endgame version, we are way tankier, and I can pretty much ignore everything. Sure, I definitely have to move and kill stuff to gain HP back in case I do get hit, but we have so much block that we ignore basically everything when it comes to damage. Okay, so we got a rare here. Put down totem. And then okay, we're gonna go back the other way now. Make sure to walk over these clasped hands as they roam around. Don't worry about like trying to kill everything. Everything will eventually die as it follows you. Because of the explosions. And if you see rares usually die as well because of the explosions. Maybe you have to circle back and try and get a bit more AoE and probably blood on them. I could go back and pick up my stuff, but for the showcase we'll just do it a bit fast. So for these Skadooches.
Ancestors!
Put down a couple totems. Line them up. Let's get through. Also, I can just stand in this. Not even hurt. Just stand in. Very thinly damage. I've an effective block of about 87.5%. Or maybe 87, because I have 64% chance, but I have a shield called Sval, and I'll explain this later. But it gives me lucky block. So basically I block twice, and if I block with one of those blocks, I block. Yeah, it's maybe a bit not the most intuitive, but hopefully you'll understand later. Shrine here, get up. It's a bit annoying to get sometimes. What I want to try and do now is find the boss. We could clear the rest of the map, but I don't know if that's needed for this showcase video. I think this is like a slither boss. Again, this is real juice content, so the boss as well is going to be extremely tanky. So it's not normal T15, T16 bosses. Oh, nice, for sure. Take those. So the boss is going to be, I think, I don't know what the numbers are, but it's about like 10 times the HP of a normal T15/T16 boss. They still look crazy with the Atlas nodes on the tree. I actually did not show those earlier, but I guess I can show them now. So you see here, this up here, I have 4 points spec'd, which makes the boss have +4 difficulty. Did not find him at the bottom. Hoped I didn't miss him. Over here. It's been fun. The new changes to seeing rares after killing 200 monsters is great, but maybe GGG could just give it to us by default. You know, would it really be that bad? I guess we'll have to find out if they do make that decision. But for now, it's not too bad. Obviously, normally when I clear maps, I'm going around in a circle and then go down to the middle.
Face me!
And just trying to find the boss as fast as possible. Which, to be fair, maybe that strategy would have been the best play for that anyway, but hopefully he's up here somewhere. Ah, there we go. Okay, we got him. So for bosses, of course, we want to use our totems, but we also want to use Infernal Cry. Infernal Cry will apply daze to the boss, which I'll show in a bit, as well as giving us rage, which increases our damage. So 3 totems first to start with. Use a potion, and we kind of chunk ourselves. And the damage starts. You want to keep using Fallen Cry to make sure you have your rage up. And put down like 1 totem at a time, so that we don't start killing ourselves. See, we barely take any damage, and we're doing, you know, over 1 million damage per second, just about. Oh, let's go. We blocked that too, whatever that was, we blocked it. I think they ignored that mechanic. Alright, hopefully you get an idea of kind of how the build works, and we'll go on to describing it a bit more. Alright, so let's go over our skill gems. We get this Malice skill here we get from our scepter. I'll explain that later, but it's irrelevant, it doesn't do anything really for us. Ray shield, get that for having your shield. Cast on block, this is again also something to do with our items. This is a skill we get from the unique shield Svalin, which I mentioned earlier, that makes us block a lot more. In here we have Impetus, because it's a cast on block skill, or it needs energy, a trigger skill. We can give a bit more energy with this support. Then we have Orb of Storms. It's linked with Font of Blood, which gives us a bit of regen, and Font of Rage. So when we get hit enough times, or we block enough times, an Orb of Storms goes down, pretty much goes right next to you, and it will give us a bit of regen and a bit of rage. Nothing crazy, like it's not, you know, that impactful, but it's extra bonus, you know. Mace Strike, we just use this to hold our extra skills. So in this case, we have Splinter. That is something I forgot to mention during the boss. We actually want to swap this out. So for bosses, we want to use Splinter because it allows us to break armor much more reliably. We can technically do it with Devastate as well, which is what we use during mapping, but that means our Warcry has to do the stunning blow and not our totems, and our totems do so much damage that they're usually the ones that stun the enemy and not our Warcry. Yes, so what we have, that's on 4 Silent Cry, our pretty much main skill. We of course have Corrupting Cry, Brutality, Swift Affliction, and Inspiration. Inspiration is something you can take out if you really wanted to, and you can maybe put an AoE or something, which we are using later on. But just being able to sustain our life while spamming Warcries is just too nice to give up. So I think this is honestly just that good of a link. Infernal Cry, we have Raging Cry to gain rage, so we can do more damage. Dazing Cry, so that we can apply Daze to pretty much any enemy instantly, and Daze gives you 50% more stun buildup. Mobility, again, extra, not really necessary, but it allows us to move a bit faster while casting Infernal Cry, which is not really that much. Ancestral Totem, this big bad boy, linked with Earthshatter. As you see from the gameplay, when you put down Earthshatter, it puts down spikes, and you can explode that with your Warcries. So it's kind of cool little synergy there, that our totems put down little spikes that we then blow up when we spam our Warcries. More attack speed, I think this is nice. They attack already pretty slow, so having a bit more attack speed is nice. Bloodlust, so that just more damage pretty much. We have Bleed with our Seismic Cry due to global chance to bleed on hit from jewels. Again, I'll explain that later. Upheaval is just nice, they put down 3 spikes instead of just 1. And Heavy Swing, which I don't know if this is the best link, because it does make our totem slower, but it's guaranteed damage. Shield Charge, I have Ingenuity to make it go a bit faster, so we can use it more often. And Culling Strike, I don't know, it's just something to have in there. I can't say I actually use it to cull anything, but it's there. Leaf Slam, Life Thief, it's cool, but doesn't really matter. Same with Holy Descent, which is also cool. Consecrated Ground is like a little regen area, as well as also makes you have reduced effect of curses on you, so you know, it's weakened by those curses. But we'd never really use Leaf Slam as much, so it doesn't matter. Scavenge Plating, due to us using Devastate, we actually can reliably break armor of pretty much anything we hit with Seismic Cry, because we inflict a heavy stun on. Heavy stun is not the same, like Bone Shatter applies a heavy stun when something is primed, like it has that little dot over it, but actually that's only for primed stun. Heavy stun is any time you complete the stagger bar, the stun bar. That's when an enemy is fully stunned. So we do that with Seismic Cry, and because we do that, we break armor and we get Scavenge Plating stacks. We increase its duration, those stacks that's a bit longer with persistence. And Physical Mastery isn't that important for me because I have a level 18 gem, but if you have a level 17 gem, this will bring it up to 18, and it will give you 1 more % on the more armor per Scavenge Plating, which is really nice. So it allows us to give more armor. And I also recommend putting Equality into this first, because it gets up to 2% more armor per Scavenge Plating, which is 20% more armor effectively at full stacks. So that's very nice. Overwhelming Presence, second aura or buff. This just reduces the stun threshold of enemies around us, allows us to stun them a bit more easily, which is nice. And it also allows us to socket in some extra buffs that we have support. So this one gives us 1% life regen per second. This one gives us 4% life per kill, which is honestly probably one of the best support gems you can have in your buffs. If you, for some reason, you don't have enough spirit to use these because they do increase spirit cost, highly recommend this. It is a lifesaver, and you basically never have to press your life flask or anything. It's the same. Again, herbalism bonus. It's nice if you have the extra spirit. Blasphemy. Okay, so this is something I'll get to later as well, but we equip a scepter. In the previous version, you only used a mace, and you had a bit of strength on it. It was nice. It's super cheap, you know, but it didn't really do much. So now we use a scepter instead, which also gives us strength, but it also gives us a lot of spirit. And with the spirit, we can apply blasphemy, which is a buff that allows us to have an aura curse around us. And the curse I've selected is enfeeble. You could use temp chains, but temp chains has a higher int requirement, so I'm not sure I recommend that as much. Enfeeble is just nice though. It doesn't require as much int like at lower level, because we're only using, as you see here, we're only using a level 11 version, as we don't have that much int, and the more int means less strength usually. We also have quality on this for extra curse effect, increased effect of curses, magnified effect, and ritualistic curse. I'm not 100% sure if this works, but we have the sockets, so we just use it anyway. And obviously, the more area, the better, because the initial area of blasphemy is tiny. Mobs have to be in melee range for it to do anything. Time of Need is a bonus buff. Currently, it's kind of bugged, but what it does is that every 10 seconds, you see my armor glow up like this, and then it kind of, refreshes and goes around me. And this heals me and removes curses and elemental ailments such as shock, burn, or ignite, and chill, freeze. It's nice. Honestly, if you don't have the spirit for this, that's 100% fine. Don't use it. And we have less skill effect duration, so it pops a bit sooner. But when you weapon swap, it actually breaks. And we weapon swap quite a bit, at least in bosses, to place down totems. So I just weapon swap right now, and nothing's happening. And I weapon swap again, and nothing's happening. So maybe GG will fix that in a time, and it'll be much better. But for now, it's whatever. All right, that is the gems. Skill tree. As you can see, things have changed from the initial build, if you've been following that, to adjust for new items and such. We've cut out this part of the tree, as life on block really isn't that good. It's not something we care about. And we've also changed our ascendancy. So in our ascendancy, we now have Renly's training and Turtle Charm instead of Amil's weight. Amil's weight was something that allowed us to proc our scavenging armor with explosions, because it dealt physical damage, which meant it broke armor. But we don't need that, because now our Seismic Cry has Devastate, which breaks armor whenever it heavy stuns, which is basically all the time on smaller mobs, and that gives us some stacks. So don't need that anymore. So instead, we're going for Renly's, as I did, these block nodes right here. This with our unique shield Svalin, as I mentioned, which I'll also go to later, allows us to get cap block as well as block everything. What everything means, so can block damage from all hits. What that means is that we can block effects that affect an area. So normally you can only block as well as evade, if you want to go over that mechanic as well, evasion. You can only block projectiles and attack hits like normal swings, monsters are doing when they're wailing at you or when they're shooting at you. Normally you can block that. What you can't block is big slam attacks, lightning storms coming down, explosions on the ground that you need to avoid. All the stuff you kind of have to dodge, roll away from, you can't block. But with this, you can. And as you saw in the video, or as you saw in the gameplay, we basically just stand anywhere and we're fine. So, with the less block chance is pretty bad though. Luckily our Svalin allows us to kind of overcome that a tiny bit, because we don't need to get as much block to hit that cap. So to hit that cap, we've changed our tree a bit. Up here we now have offensive stance and wide barrier, which gives us a lot of block and damage when we have that capped block. We've also made this one into both trees now, so that it applies to both totems and shield. I don't know if this actually works, because obviously we're not using a shield when we summon our totems. So that probably doesn't work. Hard to say. I don't know. But it doesn't matter at the time because we don't have the points, the weapon set points over here to use anyway. So we're just using our global points for that, which is fine. Still a lot of damage, like 64% damage, which is a lot on one node. One thing I want to mention is this jewel. You do not need this jewel, and you probably won't get it ever. We'll see. But the current prices on this stuff is crazy, and they sell out immediately. This jewel gives me 24% total strength. Keep in mind, our helmet gives us 15%. This gives me 24%. Kind of crazy. It's not mad. It is not needed. It's not needed. Steel Mage, a streamer who's also running this build, does not have this jewel, and he's doing just fine. And to some extent, it even has better gear / stats than me. It's hard to say if this is even that good. It looks good. It definitely looks crazy good. But some of these nodes, like this one and this one, I don't normally want anyway, but I take them now because obviously I want the strength. So do with that what you will. On my mobile guide, I'll probably have to do something different. Everything else on here is pretty much the same. Pretty much the same. Worker damage, RT, resolute techniques we don't miss, so forth. We do have jewels though, a lot of them. In these jewels we want block chance so that we can get cap block. Cap block normally means 75% block chance here. I can't get more than this, the 64%, because of my shield. Again, I'll explain that later, but you want this number as high as possible and as high as you can get. So 75% is normally the highest they can get. So if you need some extra block chance, get it on jewels. Other stats that are nice are increased damage with war cries, gives us more damage with corrupting cry, increased weapon swap speed. Weapon swap speed is really nice because we do not want to be in totem form, if you want to call it that, or totem weapon set, because we don't have a shield, which means we're not tanky anymore, and we can't really war cry in that without a shield, right? So we want to swap sets real fast. So swap totem, swap back. That's kind of our gameplay. So weapon swap speed helps us do that. You can also have armor, is really nice. Armor is super good. Stun threshold is okay, makes us a bit less likely to get stunned. Global physical damage, that works for both our totem and our war cry, so it's a nice stat. And we also have stun buildup, is nice. Again, these are not very important stats, it's just the block chance and this stat, bleed. So we want at least 10% chance to inflict bleeding on hit. This is kind of important because one of the support gems on our totem is do more damage when the enemy is bleeding. And to bleed, we need chance to inflict bleed. And this actually works with a war cry because it's doing physical damage, and as long as you have chance to bleed, physical damage can bleed. So since we war cry so much, 10% I think is enough to be able to bleed pretty much any enemy, or at least boss, that we encounter. So just make sure you have at least 10%. Totem placer speed also allows us to put our totems faster, meaning we don't have to be in totem and summoning them as much. So we want to minimize our time being in totem form or totem weapon set. Yes. Our items. So something's changed. We are using a scepter. Initially we were just using a normal mace, two-handed, didn't really matter. As long as it had strength, it gave us a bit more damage, a bit more health, right? But it didn't do anything else. We weren't even attacking. So what else could we have done? Scepter, that's where that thing comes in. It gives us a total of 137 spirit, which, as explained earlier, gives us allows us to use blasphemy aura as well as some more buffs. It also gives us intelligence, which is really nice for our cast on block because that requires 97, I believe, intelligence to be able to use. And that's what actually kind of makes this work, because we don't want int on our build, we want strength. But with this item, we don't give up strength because we can just have both. We also need this stat here, reduced attribute requirements. This allows us to equip the scepter earlier, or with less int, basically. And we want to be below the 97 that we normally have. So as long as you're below 97 or 97, on the requirement, on the item, you should be able to use it. We do not have that much int by default, so you will have to respec points on your talent tree or reconfigure your items to maybe have like global or all attributes, for example, to be able to get that int requirement. But I think it's worth it to get this int requirement, so we can run that curse, so we can run Enfeeble, this curse as you see around me, so the enemies do less damage when they come close to us, which is really nice. So those 3 suffixes here, as they're called, suffixes the bottom 3 stats, those are important. The rest doesn't matter. Increased spirit, honestly, I don't think matters that much. It does help though to maybe run Time of Need if you want to run that. So keep that in mind. But yeah. Helmet, same as before. I have a corrupted version though, which allows me to have 2 sockets on it. These will vary in price. I don't know how easy they're to get. I bought mine for I think 40 exalts or something like that. So it's nice when you need to fill out our resistance because of Svalin. With Svalin, we lose a lot of stats on our shield. Armor to some extent, can't have any resistances, and our block chance baseline is terrible. It's only 26%. But we can fix that with our Ascendancy, as I explained. What this shield does though, it gives us cast on block, which isn't really that important. It's cool, it's nice, it's whatever though. What it does do is block chance is lucky. As I tried to explain in the gameplay footage, lucky, as it's explained here, rolls twice. So basically when something attacks me, I try to block. If I can't block, I try to block again, basically. And if I block then I block. So it gives them basically 2 times, twice chance to block something. So basically you can block something twice. And this multiplies our 64% block chance to about 87%, which is crazy. We basically don't take 80% of damage or hits. That's nuts. It does have a negative though. Maximum block chance is minus by up to 20%. Mine is currently at 11%, and I can get it down to 10. It's a bit difficult. I've been unlucky with my Divine Orbs, which they're called, which allows you to reroll this. But 11% is fine. It's more than enough. I even think it's still really good at 20%. And what this is nice is Turtle Charm reduces our block chance by 35%. So we need even more block chance on tree and items to get to that cap. But since Svalin has minus max, it means we basically need less block chance. But our lucky brings it back up. So it's a synergistic there. We don't actually need that much block chance for this to work. If you want to do a normal shield, which you can, the prices on this is fluctuating. It's going down again. It's about 100 exalts. You can definitely use a normal shield for this build. You don't need this, but you would need a really good shield, like a lot of block chance here, like easily above 40%, and you might need more block chance on other items such as jewels as well, and on your passive tree. So there's that. I recommend this shield. It's crazy, but it's expensive. Rings, as I tried to explain in my other guide, you just want strength, resistances, and life. I currently have 75 fire res, 75 cold res, 75 lightning res, and 67% chaos res. And eventually I obviously want to get this to 75 as well. I'm hoping to upgrade this ring. I don't know, it's hard to find items right now, definitely that. It's just kind of rare. But 75 on everything is really important. This is what you want to focus on. Getting chaos res is also really nice and kind of important, but getting your elemental resistances to 75 is super important and it's something you want to prioritize. Then you want to get strength, and then when you get life. So in that order, basically resistances, strength, and life is kind of how I think of it. Chest piece, same idea. We want, hopefully, I'm trying to get more armor on this. This is not that great. I mean, it's a good item. This is a really good item, but I want more armor. But it is what it is. Also, to get those resistances, use your sockets. These sockets are very important to fill out. So this socket here gives me a glacial rune, for example, which gives me 12% cold resist. Very important to try and buy items and then fix kind of or fill out what you need with those sockets. I've managed to get enough reds to the point where I can actually run life instead. These are soul cores, which you get from the ultimated trials. Very nice. Maximum life is a scarce stat, and it multiplies my HP, which is really good. Maybe I should have gone for armor here. Oh well, can't replace them, so it is what it is. Again, same, and I also want movement speed on boots. Very important, I think. Most mechanics in this game require movement speed. We are tanky, but movement speed is just so nice, definitely for doing your ascendancy. It's just kind of mandatory, I feel like. Unfortunately, I do not have life on these boots. I would like to replace this maximum mana roll with a life roll, but boots are, again, very hard to find, so here's what it is. Life flask, not really that important. What is on there? I like increased amount recovered, because then you can just get more life from one life flasks, which synergizes well with this utility belt, which has the implicit, this is here, flash recover applied instantly. So I can spam my flash to basically get my HP back instantly, which is really good in some sticky situations, especially boss fights and stuff like that. Which I recommend, but not mandatory. Again, it's nice, but it synergizes with this increased amount recovered, because more of this is now instant. The suffix, I should honestly change this flask. I think I recommend more charges or reduced charges used, because that means for boss fights specifically, you can click the flask more and you heal it more. Increased charges gain basically does nothing on bosses because you can't gain charges during boss fights for the most part. I'm also using a freeze charm because I don't want to get frozen. Frozen sucks. Do I get frozen much anymore? I don't know. Definitely not with this. Definitely not with this. Again, up to you what you want to use here. Sometimes it's nice to match your charm to map mods. Do I have an example here? For example, yeah, here I have monsters have 40% chance to poison on hit. So if this is on your map, maybe just swap this out with immune to poison, and then you can negate that part of the map. So it's a nice thing you can do. Alright, that's the items. Oh, sorry. We also have 2 great maces in our offhands. Only stat that matters here is the +2 level of melee skills. +7 is the highest we can get, and this buffs our Ancestral Totem Warrior when I swap to level 33. This is crazy. It multiplies, see how it goes from 94 base damage on the top there to 188. It is nuts. These are very good and cheap. Well, +7 isn't as cheap, but +6 is fine, and that will do you good for a while. But this is mandatory basically for your totems to do good damage. That's the build basically. Thanks for watching. Small tidbits that Max Roll Guide is out now. I'm still talking with the guy, and I think it should be pretty much up to date with the old guide. And it goes a lot more through specific things, how to do stuff. So I recommend that. It won't have this though, it won't have the endgame version, so you're gonna have to refer to this video, or maybe the updated mobilitics guide I'll be doing later. For skill, like if where you want to put, I recommend putting your skills on your mouse. I like doing that. That way you don't use WASD if you're a WASD gamer. Easily dodge attacks while using your skills without much worries. Well, thank you very much, and I'll link the mobilitics guide to this in the description.